If you're like me, sometimes I come home from work, and it's been a rough day. You're emotionally drained, maybe you're physically tired and worn down, and you just want to walk in the door, and you just want to relax for a few moments. You just want to sit down and just kind of calm down. And all of a sudden, as soon as you walk in the door, you are completely bombarded, whether it be by children or a spouse or loved ones. You are bombarded, and they just want to talk to you, and they want to tell you about your day, and they want to start asking questions. And if you're anything like me, have you ever done this before? You just kind of look at your watch. They're telling you, they're sharing with you, they're asking questions, they want your attention, and you may even do one of these numbers, like, okay, come on, land the plane. Okay, let's be done with this. Okay, hey guys, from experience, don't ever do that. Okay, first of all, it does not end well, all right? So you never do this, you never say land the plane, you never say don't be emotional about it. You just never do that, okay? Just don't ever do that. Okay? Because when you do that, what happens? When you do that, what you're communicating is, you know what, you're not important for me. I don't have time to listen to what you're telling me. We need to slow down. We need to be close enough to listen, and you cannot listen fast. So what do we do? What do we need to do? I am glad you asked. Okay, what we need to do is this. We need to change the way I listen. We need to change the way I listen. We take so much from our family of origins. Okay, we learn so much from the way that our parents communicated or the people that were close to us in our life communicated. And many times we think that our parents were kind of like this, when in reality our family of origin was probably more like this, right? Because not everything that we incorporated from our families of origin makes sense. Not everything that we incorporated from our families of origin are good. And I think sometimes we just need to slow down and we need to think. It's like, what do I want to incorporate into my relationships and what do I want to leave behind? Because so many parents, when they communicate, especially in times of conflict, it's not constructive. They're destructive to each other. They tear each other down, and they don't want to listen to each other. I think of it like this. So many times, I think when it comes to conflict in relationships, we use like a real lawnmower, R-E-E-L. Anybody remember these? Okay, you remember that? Look at the blades on that. They're not sharp. If you ever tried to use one of these, they don't cut grass. All they do is aggravate you. You're out there doing one of these numbers all day long, and nothing is happening. And like down here in Florida with the kind of grass that we have, all you're doing is tearing up all, it's just pulling up all the weeds and everything else. But anyway, oftentimes, I think that's how we communicate. Well, this is the way my parents did it. This is the way my grandparents did it. And so we continue to use the old way when in reality there's a much better way. Oh, this is an eco-friendly, lithium battery, power-operated lawnmower. That thing will cut grass. That is the Tesla of lawnmowers, right? And yet so often we fall back to the old ways of doing things. So we're going to be teaching you some new ways, some ways to build stronger, healthier relationships, not just with a spouse or a loved one. This works with your children. It'll work with your mother-in-law. It'll work with coworkers. It could work with anyone. And I know some of you are sitting out there going, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. I'm going to start putting all these practical applications into practice. But the truth is, when the pressure is on and you're in the midst of a conflict or a difficult situation, you're going to talk the talk and you're going to say, oh, Pastor, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. But in reality, you went back to the old way of doing things. So one, I want you to be aware of that. It is so easy for us to fall back into the old way of doing things. So here are the fair fight rules. All right, for those people who you are close enough to listen to, okay, your family, your friends, your loved ones, a coworker. I think, one, you need to mutually agree to submit to the rules. You need to do it together, right? And like I said, we're going to give you some very practical steps to build healthy relationships, and they're all based on God's Word. And once again, I want to challenge you. Sometimes it's easy to talk about it, and it's so much easier to talk about it than it is to do it. And oftentimes in relationships, it's 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. But never forget, you're continuing to move forward. So if you are ever in a serious conversation, okay, which I will probably be in later on this afternoon because of some of the comments I've already made. Anyway, so if you're ever in a serious conversation, all right, or if you know that a serious conversation, you want to have one with a loved one, first and foremost, set a time. We schedule everything, right? We schedule every appointment. You need to set a time. You schedule a date and a time that's appropriate. To have a heavy discussion with me as I walk in the door from work is not a good time. because I just need to relax and unwind. If you hit me with something big, I'm probably not going to respond well. Having a heavy conversation that's going to take a half hour or 45 minutes at 11 o'clock at night is probably not a good time. You're tired. You just want to go to bed. You need to set a date and a time that is appropriate. You put the kids down, you go out, and you have this heavy conversation. So you always set a date and a time. 2, call your shots. Nobody likes to be waylaid. Very succinctly, you say what the issue is. Okay, hey, honey, let's have a serious conversation. What we need to talk about is this. Okay, that gives the other person opportunity to prepare, right? Nobody likes to be ambushed. Love does not ambush. Nobody likes to be blindsided. We just don't want to be waylaid out of nowhere. Okay, and when you go into a heavy conversation, a soft startup, okay, when you come into the conversation, if you immediately point your fingers and you speak harshly, okay, that's not going to end well. A harsh startup usually ends poorly. A soft startup. Hey, I'm glad you're here. I'm really struggling. I'm really having a hard time with this. And you begin, a soft startup will end well. So when you do this, when you schedule a date and a time, when you call your shots, what all it does is it reduces the tension. It pulls the intensity out of the conversation. Because when a conversation escalates, when a conversation gets more and more and more heated, the anger begins to flare up. That's when we say and do the things that cause significant damage. That's when we say and do the things that's going to hurt, that's going to take a long time to repair. And when you sit down and you have a conversation, you don't write out a laundry list of things. You don't come out with a list of 10 different things that you want to complain about. Right? You come up with one. One significant point or conversation that you want to have. If in your conversation more and more issues are coming up, write it down, take notes. You make a different appointment for it. This is not a time to vent. This is not a time to get something off your chest. This is not a time for you to make your opinion known because you really want to stuff it down their throat. What we want is a win-win kind of situation. Right? We're fighting for each other. We want it to be a win-win.